Hello everyone. My name is Dr. Tatvadarshi Nagarali. I'm from Evans of Technology Computer Engineering Department. Today in this video, we'll try to understand what is semantic analysis in natural language processing. Before going into the details of semantic analysis, let's try to understand what do you mean by natural language processing. Now, the computer understands only the language of zeros and ones. It does not understand the human spoken language like English or Hindi. This human spoken language is called as natural language. Now, the ability of the computer to understand this natural language is called as natural language processing. There are many different stages in natural language processing. The first stage is morphological analysis. Now, for a computer, a paragraph or a sentence is a bunch of characters, right? So, the first step that the computer does is it divides the whole stream of characters into words and sentences. This is called as tokenization. Now, once that is done, the next step is try to understand whether the given sentence follows the rule of the grammar. Like, for example, English is a subject verb object kind of a language. Like, for example, Ram plays cricket. It is a subject verb object kind of a language. So, every language has its own set of rules according to which we can say whether the spoken or the given sentence is syntactically or grammatically correct or no. That is done in the second step, that is syntactic analysis. Now, the third step in natural language processing is semantic analysis. In semantic analysis, once the grammar has approved the given sentence, then we try to understand the meaning of the sentence. What does the spoken or the given sentence actually means? This is what is semantic analysis. The next step is discourse analysis. Now, what happens is, like, take an example of the sentence Ram is a good boy, he plays cricket. Now, if we independently only process the second sentence, that is, he plays cricket, the preposition he does not make any sense. So, we cannot make sense of the whole that sentence without making sense of the previous sentence. So in discourse analysis, what we do is we try to understand the context of the whole paragraph or the whole sentence to make sense of a particular sentence. The third one or the last one is the pragmatic analysis. In pragmatic analysis, there are many sentences which in which the intended meaning is completely different compared to the what the meaning the sentence is giving us. Like, for example, he fought like a lion. Now here, does that mean he fought like an animal? It actually means, the sentence actually means that he fought very bravely or courageously, right? So this is the intended meaning. To find out this intended meaning, we have something called as pragmatic analysis. Now these are the different stages in which natural language processing is performed. We'll focus in this video on semantic analysis. Semantic analysis can be done in two ways, that is, using first order predicate logic or word nets. Now, let's see how it is done. First, we will see how a semantic analysis can be done using first order predicate logic. Now, what is first order predicate logic? It is a knowledge representation that is generally used in artificial intelligence, and it represents quantifiers. Like, for example, take the example of the first sentence, that is, John and Richard are brothers. This in a prepositional logic can be given as John is a brother of Richard, that is, both are brothers. Now, this in predicate logic, using there are type of quantifiers, that is universal quantifier and existential quantifiers. Like example, all humans like ice cream. Here, this can be written in first order predicate logic as for all x where x is human, x likes ice cream. So this is how it is represented in the first order predicate logic. First order predicate logic is resolved using different resolution techniques like unification or backward chaining or forward chaining. Now these resolution technique does not give us the meaning of the sentence as such. So to understand the meaning of the sentence, we have something called as semantic attachments. these are certain notations that are given to the sentence in first order predicate logic, which gives us the meaning that is being represented or that is being assigned to the particular sentence. Now, there are many different types of semantic attachments, like semantic attachments for sentences, noun phrases, verb phrases, and prepositional phrases. We'll see this one by one. Generally, we deal with declarative type of sentences like he is a good boy or Ram is a good boy, he plays cricket. These are kind of declarative sentences, factual sentences. But we have other type of sentences as well, like imperatives, yes or no questions, and WH questions. Take the examples that we have given here. That is, flight 487 serves lunch. This is a declarative kind of a sentence, right? The second, serve lunch. It is a, you can say, a request or an order kind of a sentence. These kind of sentences are called as imperatives. The next one is, does flight 207 serve lunch? It is a question. And again, which flight served lunch? This is again a question, right? We will see declarative sentences. In declarative sentences, we have operator called as DCL. Before the sentence, before the predicate logic is written, we directly write DCL. It is an operator which says to the resolution technique that this is a declarative kind of a sentence. Let's take an example of an imperative sentence. Now, imperative sentences, like for example, serve lunch, generally start with a verb phrase. Now, here the subject verb phrase by itself does not have a meaning because it requires an subject. So, to compute the subject, we have something called as lambda expression or lambda representation, which means that there is a subject missing which has to be computed further. Now, the example serve lunch is written here. That is, it is an imperative, it is a general declarative sentence saying it is an imperative with an imperative operator, that is IMP. That is, there exists an E where E is a serving and E is a server to the subject and E served is a lunch. Okay. This is a yes or no type of questions. This this sentence consists these type of sentences generally consist of auxiliary verb followed by a subject noun phrase, then a verb phrase. Okay, so again we generally ignore the auxiliary verb that has been there, and rest all we write it as a declarative sentence with a operator, that is y and q, that is yes or no question. That does flight 207 serve lunch? This is what is we get. This the within the bracket what we have, it is a simple declarative sentence that has been given in a predicate logic, and we have an operator y and q which says that this is a yes or no type of a question. The next type is the WH questions. Now, what do you mean by WH questions? It are these are the questions which start with the alphabets W and H. That is who, where, what. These type of questions. Now, these are multiple different kind of questions. Now, a sentence will have a single WH question. That is, what is your name or who is this person? It cannot be all of the above, right? This is why we insert a new variable in this type of representation, that is X. So rest of the sentence, rest of the predicate logic, it remains as it is for a declarative type of sentence. The only variation is we include a new variable X, which is a which tells the resolution technique what type of a WH question it is, and the operator used here is WHQ. Coming to the noun phrases, there are two type of noun phrases, that is compound nominals and the genitive nominals. Now, what are compound nominals? Compound nominals are noun-noun sequence. Like for example, flight schedule or summer flight schedule. These are nouns. The whole sentence contains only the nouns. Now, how is it represented? Now, here the final noun, that is the schedule. In both the cases, the schedule is the final noun, right? So, this is taken at the head of the phrase, and the remaining nouns are denoted with the expression NN. Here, how it is represented, that is our schedule, which was our final noun. It is taken at the head of the representation, and remaining all the nouns are denoted uh, with a notation called as NN. Okay. This is the genitive nouns. These are marked with complex determiners. Like, for example, Atlanta's airport or Maharani's menu. The apostrophe S creates a problem here. Here, what we do is, again, we ignore the apostrophe S, and the final noun is again taken at the head, and the remaining noun is given a notation called as GN. This means that the resolution technique understands that the word Atlanta has a apostrophe S. The next is the verb phrases. Now, in verb phrases, by itself, it does not carry any meaning because it does not have a subject attached to it. So, that is why, as we said, we have a lambda expression which says to the operator that we have to compute the subject as well to make the meaning of the given verb phrase. Now, there is a difficulty here as well. Like, example is infinitive verb phrases. Take the example of I told Harry to go to Maharani. Here we have two verb phrases, that is told and to go to. Told is a verb phrase which is being executed within the sentence, right? Whereas to go to is outside of the purview of the given sentence. When we have these kind of verb phrases which are outside of the purview of the given sentence, we call that kind of sentence as infinitive verb phrases. So the infinitive verb phrases is given something like this that we have here. Okay. So this was about the first order predicate logic, semantic analysis. Here, by representing the sentence into first order predicate logic with semantic attachments, using different resolution techniques, we can identify or we can make sense of the given sentence. The next type of semantic analysis, next way of doing semantic analysis is using WordNet. Before going into the details of WordNet, we have to understand certain terms that are important to understand WordNet. Now, every language has words, vocabulary, as we said. This vocabulary is called as lexeme or lexemes, and each word has its own meaning. This meaning component of a lexeme or a word is called as a sense, and the study of these words and its meaning is called as lexical semantics. Now, there are many different relations among lexemes and senses in English language. Like, for example, the first one is homonymy. It is the relation that holds between the words that have the same form but different meanings. That is, same word have different meanings in different contexts. Like, for example, the word bank. It can mean a financial institution when it is taken in that sense, or it can be a sloping mound when it is taken as a river, in the sense of a river. So, the same word bank has a different meaning, that is a sloping mound or a financial institution. So, the word bank here is homonymy. Type of relation is called as polysemy. Here, single word has multiple but related meanings. Again, take the example of bank. In the terms of financial institution, it is storing money or financial matters, whereas in terms of food bank, it is storing some food stuff, some kind of food stuff. So in both the cases, it is storing something, but in one case the storing is related to financial things. In the other case, it is in the sense of a food stuff. The next is synonymy, that is different words having the same meaning. Now, we can consider two words as synonymous if it can be substituted with each other, substituted with one another without changing the meaning of the sentence or the acceptability of the sentence. Like, take the example of how big is that plane. Now, the word big can be exchanged with a large. That is, how large is that plane. Now, both the sentences are meaningful and it is acceptable. Cases where it is not acceptable, like for example, take these two sentences, that is, what is the cheapest first class fare and what is the cheapest first class price. Now, synonymous wise, fare and price, these are synonyms of each other, that is, the meaning kind of remains the same, but is it acceptable? Here there is, in the second case, there is certain kind of oddity to the given sentence. Generally what happens is we use fare in terms of cost for various services. Like in this example we are using first class, it is a service, so fare is better compared to the price. Price is generally used to represent ticket price or ticket of that particular service. Type of relation is the antonymy, that is opposites in meaning. Here we have three different types. The first one is implicitly gradable pairs, that is, it is words related to the objects they modify. Like for example, big car or a small car. So big and small are implicitly gradable pairs. Like it was a good movie or it was a bad movie. So these are implicitly gradable pairs. Type is complementary pairs. This refers to the existence of pairs that the denial of one implies the assertion of other. That means, like for example, male. When I say male, that means it directly means there is an absence of the word female. So these are the complementary pairs. The next type is relation pairs. These these words display symmetry in their meaning. Like for example, married. Married means not single, and single means not married. So these are the three different types of antonymies that we have. The next is hyponymy. Hyponymy is kind of, you can say, superclass and subclass kind of a relationship. Like for example, the relationship between the car and a vehicle is a hyponymy kind of a relation. Here, the more specific lexemes is an hyponym of the more general one. Like for example, car is a specific version of a vehicle. So car is a hyponym of a vehicle, and the general term is expressed as a hypernym of the more specific one. That is, vehicle is a hypernym of a car. So this is the hyponymy kind of a relation. We have two types, that is hyponym and hypernym. Hyponym is specific to the general one, and hypernym is general to the specific one. The next type of relation is holonymy and meronymy. Here, meronym, the word denotes the constituent part. That is, take an example of apple and apple tree. So, apple is a part of an apple tree. So, we say that apple is a meronym of apple tree. That is, here we have the part to whole kind of a relationship. So, meronymy is a part to whole kind of a relationship. The completely opposite of meronym is holonym. Holonym is a part, whole to part kind of a relationship. That is, apple tree is a holonym of apple. That is, whole to the part of relationship. So these are the different types of relations that are there in English languages. Now, WordNet is a database of these kind of relations that we saw. Okay, there are two ways of developing a WordNet, that is mining of information from existing dictionaries or creating a database from the scratch. WordNet is follows the second type, that is it has been developed from the very scratch, and it contains it is a database of different lexical relations of many different words. Now, WordNet consists of three separate databases. One each is for nouns and verbs. One database is for nouns, one database is for verbs, and the third database contains adjectives and adverbs. Now, this is how generally a WordNet looks like. This is a WordNet for noun phrases. So we have hypernym, we have hyponym, we have has a kind of a relation, part of, antonym. These kind of all the different type of relations are expressed here. That is breakfast and meal. Breakfast is a hypernym of meal. These kind of details or these kind of relations are expressed for noun phrases. These are for verb phrases and adjective and adverbs, like heavy and on antonym is heavy and light, and hypernym is fly and travel. These kind of relations are present in WordNet. Now, the problem with WordNet is there are many words which have many different kind of meanings. Like for example, the word take take for the word bass, it has 8 different meanings in the WordNet. It can be a musical string, or it can be a low voice, or similar kind of musical instruments, range of family for musical instruments. These kind of there can be many different meanings for the same word. In fact, in the WordNet 1.6 release, for 94,000 words in noun, there are more than 100,000 meanings or 100,000 senses. So, one word might have many different meanings. Now, when this happens, this is what is called as ambiguity. When a single word has multiple meanings, while trying to make sense on the whole sentence, trying to find out the meaning of the whole sentence, which of the different meanings should we accept? So this creates an ambiguity. So we have something called as word sense disambiguation, where we try to remove the ambiguity that has cropped into the system. So when a sentence is given, we try to find out the sense of the whole sentence using the WordNet. Now there are two types of words, that there will be certain words which do not have any ambiguity, and there will be certain words which have ambiguity. Now the words which do not have any ambiguity, we take it as it is, as there is no problems with it. Now, words which have ambiguity, we perform word sense disambiguation. Now, this word sense disambiguation can be done in two ways: dictionary based approach and machine learning based approach. In the dictionary based approach, it is basically we have the multiple different rules are given. There are certain restrictions which are imposed. We have different according to the context. We have different kinds of meanings which needs to be accepted. So we have certain rules using which we try to disambiguate the ambiguity that has been cropped into the words. So this is the dictionary based approach. The second approach is the machine learning based approach. This is a basic classification problem that we have. That is, we have multiple meanings, that is multiple classes, and using machine learning algorithms, classification algorithms, we try to identify the probability of which is the best kind of meaning which can be picked up. So this is what is word sense disambiguation. So what we have studied today is what is semantic analysis. Semantic analysis is we are trying to find out the meaning of the whole sentence. To the meaning of the whole sentence can be found out in two ways, that is using first order predicate logic and using wordnet. First order predicate logic, we saw what is first order predicate logic. For that, we attach the meaning component, which is called as semantic attachments. We saw different semantic attachments for noun phrases, verb phrases, sentences, right? Uh, then we came to the WordNet. What is WordNet? WordNet is a database of lexical relations. What are lexical relations? We saw many different types of lexical relations. That is holonymy, hypernym, and synonym and antonym. We saw many different type of relations that the lexemes and the relations that are there between lexemes and relations between lexemes and their senses. So using that, the WordNet is created. Using the WordNet, we try to make sense of the whole sentence. Now the problem here is in WordNet we saw that there are many different ways in which there are many different ways, or we can say there are many different meanings for a single word. So which of the meaning has to be taken into the sentence to make sense of the whole sentence is a problem that we face. For that, we have something called as word sense disambiguation. There are two ways in which word sense disambiguation can be performed. That is dictionary based approach and machine learning based approach. In machine learning based approach, we have different rules using which we try to disambiguate the word meaning, and in machine learning based approach we have the classification problem. Using classification algorithms, word sense can be disambiguated. So this is what is try to understand what is semantic analysis in natural language processing. I hope you understood this. This is it for today. Thank you.